I have waited for a week to speak out on the Trayvon Martin, George Zimmerman trial because I did not want to spew my anger upon you last week. I needed time to think. You can stop. Time to think through the trial and through the verdict and through the chilling ramifications of that not guilty plea. I seldom give my opinion on matters that happen in the media or in the news. I rarely use this pulpit to comment on people or politics or even pop culture. But I cannot ignore what has happened in this country over the past week. And I need you to indulge me because I just need to talk about it. I think you need to hear about it. And we need to understand that the decision last week reaches far and wide. Sad to say, but black men are killed in this country every day, mostly by other black men. That's a fact. However, every once in a while, the spotlight is shown on one of these murders, and it captures our attention. I must say to you, as I was reading and preparing this week, I read that the media attention put on this case was greater than the media attention put on the 2012 presidential election. America has been riveted to this case because of its uniqueness. Now, what makes this case unique? We as a nation have sadly become accustomed to white men shooting unarmed black men and getting away with it. We're accustomed to it. We're accustomed to it. In our own city, who can forget Amadou Diallo? Shot in the Bronx in his home, 41 bullets. The white men that shot him claimed he had a gun. All he had was a wallet. Or who can forget Sean Bell? 2006, 50 shots. They claimed he had a gun. He did not. So sad to say, we are used to the killing of our unarmed young black men by white men. The sad thing about it is that, I forgot another one. There's another one. Earlier this year, in the Bronx, Ramali Graham, killed in his bathroom. They ran into his house, followed him into the bathroom, and shot him dead. And the sad thing about it is all of them who shot and killed these unarmed black men got off. Some were found not guilty. Others were not even brought to trial. Because the life of a young black man in America is not worth. The thing that makes this case unique, though, are y'all with me? Just give me some time. I'm trying to breathe and walk my way through this, because the thing that makes this case unique is that in this situation, the man that shot and killed this unarmed black teenager was not an authorized representative of the law. And what has happened is that the courts have said, by their decision, that he had a right to kill an unarmed black man who was not in the act of committing any crime, who had no criminal record, but was simply walking down the street. That's chilling. Because in the cases I cited before, at least these were police officers deputized by the state. George Zimmerman was just a white man driving along who saw a young black man and decided that he could take his life. Since none of us were there, and in the court trial they emphasized that none of us were there, so there's a whole lot we don't know, but let's examine the things we do know. The things that are incontrovertible. Trayvon Martin was walking unarmed. George Zimmerman followed him without cause. That's undeniable. Trayvon Martin responded to a white man coming at him in a threatening manner, who was 12 years older and 100 pounds larger. Now, all of us in here, brothers, any one of us in here, if you're walking down the street and anybody start stepping to you, you're going to fight. Come on now. So the idea that Trayvon Martin was the aggressor is such a blatant lie. Because he was walking down the street, it was George Zimmerman who came. Remember now, Trayvon is 17. Zimmerman is 29. If anyone of who's 17 in here? Stand up. If you're 17, stand up. Stand up. 17. 18, 17, 18. Right, okay, right over here. Thank you. Kyle, stand up. Okay, good. Ladies, you can sit down. Look at these young boys. No, I want you to understand. Can you imagine somebody almost 30 years old attacking these young men? They're going to fight. Because that's just how it is. You don't step. Okay, let me get back behind the desk. Thank you, guys. You can sit down. Okay. So George, this is the facts. I'm being dispassionate and just the facts. The fact of the matter is that if anyone had the right to stand their ground, by the way, the only reason that George Zimmerman had the nerve to approach Trayvon Martin was because he knew he had a gun. That white man would not have approached that young man if he didn't know. That's just the facts. I wasn't there, you weren't there, but these are the facts that are undisputed. George Zimmerman caused the conflict. That's the fact. George Zimmerman initiated the events. That's the fact. George Zimmerman ignored the command to stay in the car. George Zimmerman was the confronter. Trayvon Martin was the confronted. George Zimmerman was the aggressor. Trayvon Martin was the aggressed. George Zimmerman was the instigator of the encounter. That is undisputed. And this we know, that George Zimmerman functioned as judge, jury, and executioner to this young black man who was not committing a crime and who had no criminal record. George Zimmerman guessed that Trayvon was a criminal. He guessed that he was a criminal. And he guessed wrong, but the court said, that's all right. Let that sink into you. He guessed that he was a criminal, approached him as such, killed him, and the court said, it's all right for you as a white man to guess that a black man is a criminal, and if you happen to kill him, it's all right. The message that this verdict sends to America is that it is reasonable for a white person to assume that a young black man is a criminal. That's what this decision says, that it is reasonable for a white person to assume that a young black man is a criminal. It's reasonable to suspect that a young black man is up to no good. It is reasonable to attack a young black man with the confidence and tacit assurance that the law will back you up. Do you understand why we are angry? Because what happened in that decision is that the level of reasonableness has been changed. That just because a young black man is walking down the street, it is now precedent that it is reasonable that a white person who is not a law enforcement officer can simply decide, you look like a criminal. Therefore, you must be a criminal. And if I approach you, the decision of the jury says, it's reasonable. Are y'all praying for me? The law says by the decision the jury made that George Zimmerman had a right to kill Trayvon Martin because George Zimmerman was losing the fight. No, that's it. The jury said that he felt threatened because he was losing the fight. A fight, by the way, that he started. Where is the righteousness in that? These are the facts, and they're undisputed. Now, for people that say, well, George Zimmerman is not a racist, well, he didn't have to be a racist to be guilty. He may have black friends, but that doesn't mean he's not guilty. Because the facts say that everything that happened occurred because he instigated it. He started it. While I was preparing for this, I had to think about something. I was listening. I did not follow the trial. I didn't watch it. I couldn't watch it because I know America. I know America. Some of you are too young to remember, but I remember Rodney King on videotape, laying on the ground motionless, and police officers in Los Angeles beating him with a billy club and then getting off. They got off because they said they were just performing their duty. They were threatened by the 6'4" big black man laying unconscious on the ground. And that was on video. Let me just throw this in. Dick Gregory was on Imus this week, and he said something quite interesting. He said, with all the technology that America has, yesterday was the 50th anniversary of us landing a man and walking on the moon, 50 years ago. With all the technology that America has, they can listen through walls. They can shoot bullets around. I mean, they can do all kind of stuff. You mean to tell me that the FBI and the CIA could not on that tape clearly say whose voice that was? With all the technology that exists in the 21st century, you mean they could not, really? Really? They were by a gated community. Where are the camera footage? Where's the video footage that you can see everything? I mean, they got cameras everywhere. Really? It's interesting to point out, though, that as outraged as we are as a people at this repeat offense, I mean, from Emmett Till back in the 50s, I mean, you'd have thought that by 2013 things would be different. But there's still a little wink in the courtroom between the defense attorney and the jury, you know, just yeah, but, you know, he's white. There was a time in this country, and dare I say it probably still is, when it was said that a black man has no rights that a white man has to observe. No, really. That a black man had no rights that a white man, so you could say whatever you will. If you were black, it didn't matter, because a white man did not have to observe any of your rights. And while that is no longer on the books, it's still kind of there. A little wink, you know, it's a little, yeah, I know, but it's all right. That's what's called tacit assurance. It's tacit is something that's unspoken, but it's there. You walk into the job interview, and they have to interview some minority candidates, so they interview you, but it's kind of understood you ain't getting the job. It's tacit, it's unspoken, it's just known. It's because you're not part of the club. Anyway, I was saying, as outraged as we are about this decision, please remember that there are many people who are celebrating the verdict. That all over this country, there are many people, most of them white, who are celebrating the fact that he got off. He killed the young man, and he got off. Do you know that they raised hundreds of thousands of dollars for his defense? He didn't have the money. Where do you think that came from? And what does that say about our society? That he could shoot an unarmed man and people flocked to give him money so that he could get excellent defense. His defense team was well paid. Given by people who sided with him. So lest you think everybody is righteous or everybody is fair, just remember, he didn't pay for his own defense. It was paid for by hundreds of thousands of dollars in donations. The Bible says in Genesis chapter 4, verse 10, that the blood of Abel cries out from the grave. I want to say to you, and I want to say to this nation from this local pulpit, that the blood of these young black men is crying out. And I decree that God is about to judge. Lately, I've been a little disappointed in my president because of some of the decisions that he has made. But I must say that last week, my president did me right. And I'm so proud of the comments that he made. I'm even more thrilled at the way he did it because he wasn't even asked. It's interesting. He had interviews all last week, and none of the white media asked him about his feelings. They asked him about everything. But again, it was kind of understood. Let's not bring it up. Because we don't want to give the president a platform. Now, they'd ask about gay issues, they'd ask about finances, but you mean to tell me none of the reporters, they ask about the most minute details of his day. You mean none of them would dare ask a question, Mr. President, what do you think about the jury decision? None of them asked. Again, it was kind of, I don't ask, you don't ask. Because the report said he was prepared to give an answer. But when they didn't ask him, and this is why he did me proud last week, he said, I'm going to come into the room and I'm going to tell y'all what I think without y'all having to ask me. Well done, Mr. President. And his statements, you need to read it or at least look at it, were so poignant. And I agree with him. He said, 35 years ago, I was Trayvon Martin. I was reading an article last night as I was completing my study that in 2006, when he was running for state senator, he was at a very ritzy shindig. He was there, and he was running for state senator. Most people that know him, there were very few black people in the crowd, and the story is that one of the guests at the shindig walked up to him and said, "Can you get me a drink, please?" Because since he was one of the few blacks who was there, they assumed you must be a waiter. Hey, Hope, let me just back up. All of us know that. All of us. Have you ever been in the store? You shopping. And they come up to you and say, "Excuse me, where can I find?" And you're like, hey, hold up. No, has that ever happened to anybody here? Well, yeah. I know this is being taped, but permit me a moment of confession. Every once in a while, I like to walk up to one of them and say, "Excuse me, can you find something for me?" And you should see the look on their face. How dare you? Oh, you don't work here. I'm sorry. I absolve myself. "35 years ago," he said, "I could have been Trayvon Martin." Can I tell you something? 35 years ago, I could have been Trayvon Martin. To this day, I'm still followed in stores. I'm a bishop of the Lord's church. To this day, when I'm driving and the police are behind me, I look to make sure they pass. I have been pulled over driving because I drive a nice car. It's still here, y'all. I'm not telling you anything you don't know. But I want to remind you that the battle is not over. The struggle continues. And yes, we have to pray, but we have to do more than pray. We have to understand that, yes, 35 years ago, I could have been Trayvon Martin. 35 years ago, the president could have been Trayvon Martin. But here's the scary thought. Tomorrow, one of our young men may be Trayvon Martin. I applaud Trayvon's father and mother for their stance. I applaud them for grace under pressure. Because let me tell you something. I do not know if I would be so inclined. They have exhibited great courage. We ought to keep them in prayer. We ought to do whatever we can legally, and I want to emphasize that legally. Please understand that all of the rights that we won were won nonviolently. No, really. All of the rights that black people have won in this country came nonviolently. Malcolm talked the violence, and he was what they were afraid of. But it was Martin Luther King and the nonviolent movement that got the Civil Rights Bill passed and all of the things. And we are going to win doing it the same way. Also understand, and the media never talks about this, the backbone of the Civil Rights movement was the church. You won't ever hear it when they talk and do the reports. They make it seem as if it just happened out of nowhere, but it was the church that was the hotbed. It was the church that was the headquarters. And specifically the Baptist church. That was the headquarters of the civil rights movement. Martin Luther King was a Baptist preacher. By the way, he was 26 years old when he became the face of the civil rights movement. Young people, it really is up to you. It is up to you. Because you are the future. I'm 52 years old this year. But those of you that are in your teens and your 20s, you have to fight. You have to fight for your future and for the children that are coming behind you, for your children, for your grandchildren. You have to fight. By the way, one of the ways you fight is picking up your pants. Because no one will respect you while your pants are hanging down and you're showing your behind. I wrestled hard with this, but I hope I've given you some information and some things to think about so that you can know how to pray, but also understand that faith without works is dead. I want to close this, and I hope you don't mind. I hope you don't mind I didn't preach today. Amen. I hope you don't mind. I give you all a lot of word. But I wanted to share with you so that you can be aware of the, as I said at the beginning of this, the chilling ramifications of this precedent-setting case as it impacts our young black men. I'm going to ask all of our young men, anyone from 25 and under, to stand. Every black man, 25 and under, please stand.